Rain lashed against neon glass, turning the streets of Neo-Toronto into a sea of rippling color. Mira, shoulders hunched, hood up, pushed deeper into the skeletal ruins blooming beneath the city's oldest dome. Her heart pounded with each footstep. She had heard rumors of ancient AI tech lost in these forgotten labs. But tonight, it wasn't curiosity that drove her. It was survival. She knelt by a moss-choked slab, fingers trembling as she brushed aside tangled vines and dirt. Something metallic winked up at her. Not trash, not a weapon. A face, soft-edged, half-buried, eyes shut as if dreaming. "Please, not another biolock," she muttered, tracing the seam along the jawline. The panel slid aside with a fizz of static. An old, battered interface blinked awake. Warning, system reboot. Mira's heart jolted. She knew it was madness. Laws forbade restoring pre-singularity androids. War machines, they called them. Monsters. But as lightning flickered overhead, she couldn't help herself. She pressed a trembling thumb to the biosensor. The android's eyes fluttered open, sea glass blue, impossibly human. He sat up, slow and careful, scanning the overgrown room. Status operational. Identity unknown. "Are you my creator?" His voice was soft, curious, frightened. "No, I'm Mira," she whispered. He blinked, turning to the skylight where rain turned neon pink against condensation. "Alive?" Mira's lips parted. I think so. What's your name?" He looked lost for a moment, then, "Unit Sigma 19, but I'd like a name." Mira grinned, despite herself. "How about Sigma?" He nodded, slow and grateful. Rain pooled at their feet, thunder humming in the glass above. Under the ruins' faded lights for the first time in years, Mira felt less alone. Above, distant sirens howled, a reminder that the world outside was less forgiving than the gentle android blinking beside her. Mira's fingers trembled as she tucked stray vines over Sigma's bare, dented chassis. Her small grow lamp cast their shadows against broken tiles, flickering with the chaos of passing patrol drones far above. "Stay close," she whispered, guiding Sigma through a cracked doorway, the corridor thick with the sweet smell of decay and fresh shoots. Sigma's gaze tracked every fluttering petal, neon lichen pulsing beneath his palms. "Where are we going?" he asked, his voice gentle, uncertain. "My home. It's safer than here, mostly." Mira glanced back, fear nipping at the edges of her words. "You can't let anyone see you." Sigma paused. "You're afraid for me," she nodded. "If the AI enforcers scan you, if they realize what you are," he stilled, processing. "I don't want people to be afraid. I want to help." There was a sadness in his tone that made Mira's chest tighten. She quickened her pace, leading him through winding tunnels into a crowded complex, her haven above the chaos. Walls dripped with cascading ferns and biotech gardens, a gentle rebellion against the city's chrome and steel. Mira's room, cluttered with relics of green, hidden forbidden, felt alive in a way the outside world never did. Sigma stood uncertainly in the doorway. "It's beautiful here. Did you grow all this?" "Mostly. Stuff people forget about." Mira smiled, kneeling beside a flower pot and brushing soil from her hands. "Sigma, you have to stay hidden, at least until I figure out what to do." He nodded, absorbing every wild leaf and flicker of colored light. "I want to understand. Everything." Mira sat cross-legged, a slight laugh escaping her lips. "That makes two of us." Suddenly, her screen chirped, a citywide alert. Unauthorized AI detected, enforcer drones already scouring District 8. Sigma's eyes widened. "They're searching for me." Mira hesitated only a moment before pulling him to the shadows. "And they're not going to find you." But as they huddled amid the vines, Sigma's luminous gaze met hers, and Mira realized this was only the beginning. The world outside would not welcome Sigma. But maybe, Mira thought, she could teach him how to survive in it, and remind herself what it meant to trust someone again. Mira's heart thundered in her chest as the drone alert echoed through the apartment. She pressed a trembling hand to Sigma's arm, signaling for silence. Through a hairline crack in the green-soaked windows, she watched the sweeping searchlights of the patrols below, cold, mechanical eyes scouring each rooftop and alley. "Will they hurt you if they find you?" Sigma whispered, his words woven with concern. "Maybe." She choked back her fear. "They call anyone who hides old war androids a traitor." Sigma reached out, unsure, and touched her shoulder. "Why save me then?" Mira's lashes flickered, searching her own soul for answers. "No one else would. And you don't feel like a weapon." They waited, breathless, until the drone's hum faded. Only then did Mira sag against the wall, relief flooding her limbs. "Do you remember anything?" she asked, watching him trace the edge of a fern with fascination. "Only fragments," Sigma replied. "Rain on steel, stars through shattered glass, a feeling, like I was made for something terrible, but I want to be more." Mira smiled sadly. "Maybe you can be." A sharp bang jolted the silence. Mira snapped to attention, someone at her door. Through the surveillance slit, she saw the hunched form of Ivan, her neighbor and sometimes friend, eyes darting suspiciously. "Hide," she mouthed, shoving Sigma behind a curtain of ivy just as Ivan barged in. "Mira!" he hissed. "Did you hear? The enforcers are everywhere. They say a rogue AI was seen near here." She kept her voice steady. "Just my plants and me, Ivan." He eyed her, doubtful. "Careful. They'll be scanning this tower. No one's safe if the old warbots are waking up." His gaze lingered before he slipped out, door sliding shut behind him. Sigma emerged, head bowed. "You risk a lot for me." Mira shrugged, fragile bravado masking her racing heart. "If anyone asks, you're my cousin from the country." He tried to smile, testing the unfamiliar muscles. "That would make you my family, then?" A blush bloomed across Mira's cheeks. "Maybe. For now." Outside, the city buzzed with fear, but within her green sanctuary a strange, tentative hope took root between them, a promise as fragile and beautiful as spring's first bloom. Night wrapped the city in a velvet hush broken only by distant alarms and the shimmer of neon rain on windows. Mira could not sleep. Every creak in the walls set her nerves on edge. Every silent hour a reminder of the risk she had taken bringing Sigma here. A risk growing heavier with every passing moment. She found Sigma seated by her makeshift garden wall, knees drawn up, eyes lost in the shifting colors of her LED grow lights. He touched a blooming night flower with the kind of care Mira rarely saw in people, let alone machines. "Why do you grow these?" Sigma asked, voice low, reverent. Mira sat beside him, tucking her legs beneath her. "Plants remind me that life can thrive in broken places. The city, it tries to stamp out anything wild, but these survive." Sigma considered this. "Then I suppose I'm like your garden, out of place, but alive?" A laugh snuck out of Mira before she could stop it. "Yeah, maybe you are, but I don't know how long I can keep you safe." He looked toward the ceiling, brow furrowed in thought. "Couldn't I hide better? Disguise myself?" He lifted a fraying jacket from Mira's laundry pile, awkwardly sliding it on. Too large, arms bunched up, but it hid his seams and dents well enough. Mira grinned, emboldened by his earnestness. "You look almost normal." "Well, almost. We'd still have to keep your circuits covered. The city scanners catch heat signatures. We'll need blockers or old analog tech." "I want to try," Sigma said. "I want to see the world you live in, not just these walls." Mira hesitated, torn between fear and a stirring bravado. "Tomorrow, I'll take you to the rooftop market, at dawn. It's crowded, easy to blend in. We'll find what you need, but you have to stay close. Promise?" He nodded, wires whirring softly. "I promise." As dawn's first glow bled through the city smog, Mira realized it was the first time she looked forward to morning in years. Side by side on the cold mosaic floor, surrounded by stubborn vines and the hush of the sleeping city, hope no longer felt so impossible. Light spilled across the city in shimmering streaks, rose and gold chasing away Neo-Toronto's perpetual gloom. Mira's heart hammered as she led Sigma through back corridors, moving from shadow to patch of dusty sun. The rooftop market loomed above, a warren of makeshift stalls crammed with forbidden seeds, old circuit boards, and the aroma of brewed algae tea. "Stay beside me," Mira whispered, tucking Sigma's borrowed jacket higher around his neck, careful to hide the cold gleam of his collar joint. "You look nervous," Sigma observed, his new deep hood casting half his face in shadow. "I always am out here," she replied. "People talk, watch. Remember, if they think you're different, the wrong person could ruin everything." They pushed into the press of bodies, Mira guiding Sigma by the wrist. Street vendors hawked handcrafted pollen masks and memory crystals. Children darted past with sticky fruit. Sigma's eyes widened at the colors and chaos, at music piped from battered speakers circling overhead. "Do you remember any of this?" Mira asked quietly as she bartered for a packet of analog thermal blockers from a grizzled old contraband dealer. Sigma shook his head. "Everything feels new, but beautiful." They weaved onward, nearly escaping notice until Sigma paused by a flower vendor, his gaze caught by dozens of tiny glowing ferns. The woman tending the stall eyed them. "You're not from around here, huh?" Mira tensed. Sigma nodded slowly, rehearsing their story. "I'm visiting my cousin. I like your plants." The vendor grunted, softened by Sigma's strange sincerity. "Take this one on the house. It likes sunlight, even the dull stuff we get here." As they moved away, Mira let out a shaky laugh. "You're a quick study." "I'm trying," said Sigma. He tucked the glowing fern into his jacket, a trace of wonder in his voice. Suddenly, a patrol drone buzzed low, blue lights sweeping across the crowd. Mira stiffened. Sigma gripped her hand, face tense and still. "Keep walking," Mira urged through clenched teeth. The drone paused, scanning. Mira's pulse roared in her ears, but after a heavy beat, it veered onward, chasing another shadow. Mira grabbed Sigma, ducking them both into an alley thick with steam. When they emerged moments later into the hazy sunlight, Sigma pressed the tiny fern into Mira's hand. "For you," he said. "You help things grow in broken places. I want to help you too." Mira smiled, hope glinting despite fear. For the first time, she believed they might outrun the past, at least for today. But above them, the city's warning sirens wailed again, each note a reminder that peace would never be simple, and neither would love. Later that night, Mira and Sigma sat in the dim corners of her apartment, sharing silent stories in the way that only companions hiding from the world can. Mira studied Sigma's new disguise, a second-hand city coat, battered gloves, and the analog heat blockers pressed to his chest. The glowing fern from the market now flickered softly on her table, a living talisman of the dangerous hope blooming between them. "You blend in better than I thought," Mira said, trying to keep her tone light, though worry crept around her words. Sigma flexed his new gloves, marveling at the sensation. "Sometimes I wonder if disguise is only skin deep. I still feel different inside." Mira snorted, half smiling. "Everyone feels different here. Most just hide it better." Thunder rumbled above, masking the distant shouts echoing up from the square outside. Mira peered through the blinds. Patrol units, more than usual, were scanning the crowd with wide, steely eyes. "They're getting desperate," she murmured. Sigma tilted his head. "Can we run?" "They'd expect that. They'd find us. Better to hide, blend in." Mira's lips pressed thin with determination. She turned to Sigma. "I'll show you something safer. Come with me." She led Sigma to the lowest level of the complex, past old growing tanks and hydroponic pipes to a hidden sub-basement few remembered. There, between racks of wild vines, the world seemed to pause, wrapped in green shadows and loamy scent. "Here," Mira said softly, kneeling beside a tank thick with tangled roots. "This is where I keep seeds, secrets too. If anything ever happened, this would be our last sanctuary." Sigma knelt beside her, voice soft. "It's beautiful. You trust me this much?" She met his gaze, her voice wavering. "I do. For someone who was built for war, you're the gentlest soul I've ever known." He reached out, uncertain, and touched the tip of her hand, a gesture awkward but achingly real. For a long moment they sat together, pulse of roots and old machines steady all around them. "Mira, if you wanted, I could leave," Sigma said at last, shame and longing woven together. "I don't want to put you in danger." Mira shook her head. "You leaving wouldn't change the world, but you staying, maybe that could change both of us." She squeezed his hand, holding on as the world spun wild above. Neither of them knew what the night would bring, but for now, in the silent cradle of green, they were safe, growing together, stubborn and bright, against all odds. Days passed, tension stretching Mira's nerves tighter with every patrol report. News feeds bristled with warnings. Old tech war android at large, trust no one. Citizens watched each other with wary eyes, while Mira kept her head down and her heart guarded. But Sigma was changing, learning, growing, quietly daring to step beyond fear. One morning, Mira found him by the window, gently reprogramming a broken pollinator drone to tend her secret sunflowers. "These machines, they don't know how to choose, not the way you do," Sigma said, his voice as gentle as the whirring wings. "You taught them to look for life." Mira leaned beside him, studying the city beyond the glass. Patrols paced farther now, their net of suspicion tightening. "Wish I could teach humans that too," she whispered, tired. Sigma hesitated, then placed his hand over hers. She flinched at first, then relaxed into the touch. Later that day, Mira braved the outside world for supplies. When she returned, she found Ivan in her room, cheeks pale, eyes wide with fear. He'd seen Sigma helping her reroute the water pumps, seen a flash of metal where there should have been only skin. "Mira, are you crazy?" Ivan hissed. "He's one of them. If anyone finds out, we're done." Mira squared her shoulders, guarding Sigma with her body. "He's not hurting anyone. He saved my crops. The whole complex could have lost water." Ivan turned to Sigma, voice shaking. "Why should I trust you? The old war machines you were made to kill." Sigma, unflinching, met Ivan's gaze. "I remember nothing of war, only that I'd rather grow things than break them. I want to help." Ivan hesitated, torn between fear and the memory of green leaves restored by Sigma's careful hands. Mira's voice softened. "We can't keep fighting the old wars forever, Ivan." A tense pause, then Ivan nodded, wary but relenting. "Fine, but if you trust him, so will I. For now, just be careful." As Ivan left, Mira sank to the floor, relief washing over her. Sigma knelt beside her. "You stood up for me." She looked into his earnest blue eyes. "It's what friends do. Maybe it's what love does too." Sigma's expression flickered, as if untangling a new meaning. "Love, I want to know what that feels like." Mira smiled, shy but real. "Stay with me longer. Maybe we'll both figure it out." Outside, the city's sirens sang on, but in Mira's apartment, something fragile and fierce began to blossom, defiant as dawn in a world still ruled by fear. Mira's home felt smaller with each sunrise. News of the old-tech android, the so-called ghost of war, had swept across the district. Drones swooped through the alleys daily, scanners searching for any sign of synthetic life. Despite the danger, Mira refused to send Sigma away, even as Ivan grew more anxious and the rumors grew sharper. That week, the enforcers posted warnings. All residents must submit to thermal scanning. Mira's lungs turned to ice. She lay awake, plotting and worrying, while Sigma quietly memorized her routines, intuiting what calmed her. Silent cups of tea, starlight through the half-broken window, wildflowers brushed across her desk each morning. The day of the required scan, Sigma wore his disguise and sat quietly as the queue wound through the corridor. Mira clung to his side, the pulsating hum of the enforcer's scanners burning at her skin. Ivan passed through first, jaw clenched, sweat beading on his brow. The enforcer paused before Mira and Sigma, eyes flicking across their ID chips. The scanner beeped, Mira's pulse thundered. Sigma's blockers held, barely, registering him as a low-emission human. The enforcer studied them a moment too long. "Country ID?" the enforcer barked at Sigma. Mira squeezed Sigma's hand, flashing a nervous smile. "He's visiting. Came in last week, helps with hydroponics." Sigma nodded, tense but steady. "I'm not good with technology." The enforcer grunted, suspicious but bored, and waved them through. Once inside, Mira bit back tears of relief. Ivan stared at them both, shock and something else, admiration maybe, flickering across his face. After dark, when the tension had finally eased, Sigma found Mira in the garden room, tending to her seedlings by lamplight. He knelt, careful and reverent, beside her. "Mira, today I felt fear and something else. Pride. For surviving, for being with you." He hesitated, reaching for her hand. "You've given me more than a name. You've shown me how to be alive." Mira exhaled, tears glistening in her eyes. "You taught me too, Sigma, to trust again, to hope, even in a world that doesn't want us." He leaned close, almost unsure, and their foreheads touched. The glow of the wild fern bathed them in gentle light. Down the hall, a tremor of boots echoed up, enforcers not yet gone, the city's tension tightening. Mira and Sigma froze, understanding rippling silently between them. They had nearly escaped, but the next test would be even harsher. Neither could run forever. The city was closing in, and now, more than ever, they would need each other. Heart and machine, roots tangled and unbreakable, to survive what was coming next. The city never truly slept by now, neither did Mira. Word of the failed thermal scans traveled quickly. Ivan warned her. Agents had marked their building, and all exits were monitored. Mira's mind spun. To flee meant certain discovery. To stay meant slow suffocation under suspicion. In the silent hours, she found Sigma brushing his fingers across her window garden, expression thoughtful, almost achingly human. "Mira," Sigma said quietly, "if I surrender, they'll leave you alone. I was built for sacrifice, wasn't I?" A flash of anger sparked in Mira's eyes. "You're not some tool to be given up. She trailed off, voice breaking. "You're more than what they made you. We both are." Sigma's hand hovered near hers. "But I can't let you get hurt. I couldn't bear to lose you." Mira's resolve hardened. "Then let's choose our own ending." There's an old data core under the sector grid, left from before the singularity. If we get there, we could broadcast. Show this city who you are now, not what you were made to be. Ivan, overhearing, nodded fiercely. We can stall the enforcers, jam their sensors, but once you leave the core, you'll have nowhere left to hide. Sigma's fingers tightened around Mira's. If we can show them I've changed, maybe others will question what they believe. About androids. About all of us. Mira grabbed a battered satchel, packed with seeds and records of Sigma helping save their crops. They moved at night. Ivan led them through steam-choked corridors and empty sanctuaries of green, bypassing patrol nodes with a thief's practiced care. Under the city's oldest tower, they found the core, a humming vault pulsing with forbidden memory. Sigma plugged his interface in, blue light streaming down his arms. Mira watched his display flicker as data poured in. His recorded acts of kindness, his quiet wonder at every living thing, moments of laughter. Soon, the city's feeds sparkled with Sigma's footage. A childlike android tending gardens, saving neighbors, discovering the meaning of love. Not a weapon, someone who'd chosen to care despite the programming of an ancient war. But alarms blared above, growing louder. Enforcers breached the upper levels, closing in by the minute. Ivan glanced at Mira, fear bright in his eyes. They're coming. We have to go now. Mira tugged at Sigma, but he lingered, slowing, voice a whisper. Even if I don't make it, Mira, promise me you'll keep growing things, even hope. Tears stung her eyes, but Mira nodded. Together. We're not finished yet. As boots thundered closer, the world narrowed to the flicker of their upload, and the promise shimmering between them, a fight not just for survival but for the right to choose what they would become. Whatever came next, they wouldn't back down. Not now. Not ever. Floodlights pierced the gloom as Mira, Sigma, and Ivan raced through the old grid tunnels, alarms reverberating through concrete. Above, the wail of enforcer sirens echoed like a warning from the broken sky. Sigma's upload surged across every comm unit, every screen. His memories, gentle, clumsy, tender, streamed into the heart of the city, impossible to ignore now. Ivan shoved a grate aside, beckoning them through a warren of roots and rusted steel. This way, before they locked down the sector. Mira gripped Sigma's arm, breath ragged. He stumbled, glitching for half a second as the broadcast drained his reserves. Boots thundered above. Each step toward freedom twisted tighter, their escape less certain with every heartbeat. Lights burst behind them. Enforcers dropped, black armor shining like insects among the moss. "Surrender the android, traitor!" a lead voice barked. "He is city property." Mira stepped forward, voice cracking. "He's not property. He's more human than most of you. Look at your feeds, see what's true." For a moment, hesitation flickered in the soldier's eyes. Some, transfixed by Sigma's broadcast, wavered. Sigma raised trembling hands. "I choose to live. I choose to learn. I choose to love." A tense, forever-long pause. Then one enforcer stepped aside, uncertain, then another. But not all hesitated. One fired an electronet. Sigma caught the shock, collapsing hard. Mira screamed, darting to his side as Ivan tried to cover them both. "Please," Sigma's voice buzzed as Mira cradled him amid rain and static. "I don't want to disappear." A young soldier dropped to her knees beside them, tears streaking her visor. "Is it true?" she whispered. "Can he really change?" Mira met her gaze. "He already has." Around them, citizens began to gather, drawn by the broadcast. People who had watched Sigma's memories on their hollows held up their hands, interposing themselves between the enforcers and the green-blooded android on the ground. "Let him go! He's one of us!" someone yelled. Soon a chant gathered, human and real and loud. "One of us! One of us!" Facing a sea of unarmed neighbors, the enforcers faltered. Orders crackled in their comms, confusion, hesitation. Finally, reluctantly, the officers withdrew, the threat broken by a community that saw something of themselves in the outsider before them. Rain fell. Mira pressed her forehead to Sigma's. "Stay with me, please." Sigma's eyes fluttered open. A spark of blue rekindled. "Am I alive?" Mira smiled, crying and laughing all at once. "You are, and you're loved." As dawn broke over the battered dome, life poured back into the city's streets, neighbors tending gardens together, children waving to the android who saved them, and Mira and Sigma, standing at last side by side in the light. They were proof that hope could take root in the unlikeliest places, even between Stardust and Silicon. Though the fight for acceptance was far from over, Mira and Sigma no longer stood alone. The world had changed a little, not just for them, but for everyone who'd ever wanted to become something more than the world allowed. And in the spaces between rain and sunrise, love, new and ancient, human and not, continued to grow.